Hello everyone and welcome to the Stream of Chaos. My name is Dave and I will be your keeper of arcane lore for this session of Call of Cthulhu. Today we are continuing our playthrough of the Two-Headed Serpent, and you can find a copy of this campaign as well as our other scenarios and rulebooks over on the chaosium.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, we do stream live each week at Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific. And you can find all of our VODs collected on the YouTube. Starting next week, our RuneQuest scenario is going to be returning as well, so you can find that on Monday, and we hope you'll see you there. Let's now return to our story in Bingham, Oklahoma, where our investigators have gathered out the front of the Butler department store and are preparing for the evening's activities. I think the first take was better, but this is the one that's going, and YouTube, you get no context beyond that. Let's throw this across now to Art to introduce Lieutenant Aries Carter. And that's me.
Hi, I'm Art. God damn it. I am playing Lieutenant Aries Carter. They exist. I don't know. I'm not even entirely... We ended with naked people on roofs. I am still a little thrown by that. No, yeah, we haven't caught Alex up on what happened, so I've referenced that twice now, and Alex just, what are you talking about? Lieutenant Aries Carter is a military mercenary, very good at killing things, not as good at intimidating as I would like them to be, apparently. Probably shoots first, ask questions later, and will sort of just flirt with anything that moves.
Yeah.
Is kind of their vibe. Otherwise, I think they have absolutely no intention of going into a God's house if God isn't actually present. So, you know.
Well,
that.
It just depends which God you're referring to. There might be one present.
I don't think those are gods, Dave.
Well, speaking of a god, Jackson.
Well, it's about time someone said what we're all thinking.
We're all thinking it.
Hey, I'm Jackson, and I'm playing Dr. Samuel Taylor Thompson, better known Dr. Sam, and he's just here to have a good time. You know, let's just get this done.
Mm-hmm.
He's very glad to have a somewhat friendly blacksmith to house his miraculous flying machine while he's here in Bingham. And yeah, should be good. We're making some plans, making a flight plan to go for a little bit of a late night glide. So that should be good.
It's been nice. You've made a friend. All right. Speaking of, I guess, a late night glide, James.
Oh, it's much less exciting. I'm still reeling from and may the peace of Jackson, which passes all understanding, be upon you and remain with you forever. Anyway, I'm playing Hubert. I am a big man with a big heart, a very, very rich fellow from New York who really, really hates snakes in general and serpent people. He's going to do whatever he can to try and make sure that these strange people who are behaving like snakes are revealed to be participating in espionage, I'm gonna put this all to rights.
All right, yeah, that's perfect. I guess speaking of espionage, Alex.
Hi, I'm Alex. Oh wow, that was a bad one.
Yeah, it was.
I've hacked my voice up at a corporate party, which might be the lamest thing I've ever done. Like just the worst, least cool thing that I've done in my life. But I am playing Wilhelmina Sinclair, who spent a lot of time in the library and has kind of just emerged in a bit of a frazzled state, kind of like somebody who's just slept for way longer than you should and has just woken up from a really disorienting nap. That's what it's like when she kind of comes out of the library to meet everybody. Wilhelmina has had some interesting dreams of late involving the Serpent people. Suspiciously realistic, and a sensation on waking that there's more than maybe meets the mind there. So she's been hitting the books real hard.
Very true, and in an attempt to sort of stay up and not return to the realm of dream before you are prepared. So Where the four of you regather, it's outside of the Butler department store. A lot of people are already beginning to prepare for this afternoon's service, literally mid-afternoon service, and they're sort of walking about, having quiet conversations, and then preparing to make their way up towards the church. Some would probably already be up there now, beginning to prepare the area to receive the incoming crowds, and you can probably spot in the distance from where you're gathered, just having a quick conversation and coordinating your evening, the Allens, Mortimer and Lloyd, who have stepped down. They've sort of cleaned themselves up a bit, wearing the same suits, and they are just now striding across town to head towards the church and try and see if they can offer any assistance. I guess if you want to update each other on what you've found, then make your preparations for the afternoon, and then we'll see what's going on. All right. Pass it to the four of you.
Okay, well, I think that just to flag, first of all, everything that we do going forward, I think, has become more and more furtive. So at least I would like to be doing a little bit of glancing back and forth and not going into any kind of large conversations when there's people around. And I get that this is a very snoopy town. Is it possible to roll any kind of basic check to sort of have a sort of general, is someone going to leap out from around a corner, a general awareness before we go in?
Yeah, give me you can make a spot hidden roll. I'll tell you immediately, there are every now and then people that come and go, and you can also spot the two hired goons you've got are not too far up and around the corner, where they've leaning against the side of a building and are keeping a general eye out on the area.
I hear your spot hidden. Could I counter you with a performative charm instead? Sort of the idea that I've got decent spot hidden, but just taking a different approach.
I like the idea.
The idea that it's like every time someone comes, I start talking about how lovely the weather is here or something, just completely inane. Because
100%. I don't even think you need to roll for that. You're across it, and it's just whenever people come past, you're able to divert the situation, and you guys aren't leaning around a corner very suspiciously talking. It's a public demonstration. Then when there's no one really around, you can fire across a few quick things. As far as you are aware, there is no one actively listening in on you.
And also, there are a lot of strangers in town, I understand.
There's quite a few. Yeah, you can definitely spot a couple of folks that look like they're from out of town. They're still carrying day bags and things. It's not loads, but it's getting more. And probably the train has now left and will be returning later today. There might be yet more coming in this afternoon as the influx of devotees, I guess, or
so
soon to be devotees.
The natives aren't staring at outsiders.
No, although you would still stand out as such.
Well, I start updating Minnie on everything. Mm-hmm. So going through, we basically went up to the train station, and someone there, a worker, a couple of months ago, apparently had a
George Hansen.
Yes, had a broken back, and has been healed. Another person who has been touched by the Reverend and supposedly brought into refreshed, renewed life. Now, Dr. Sam examined them, and they don't look like it's super healthy long term. It's maybe given them some access to. The example was, when a mother is able to lift a car off their children, but they have access to that very destructive strength at all times. So
he's got some power coming from somewhere.
Then again, previously had a broken back. So I don't know. There's still a healing element here.
Did we resolve the conversation with the blacksmith at the end of last session? I can't remember.
You did. You said you.
Wrap that up.
Close enough. We also, I believe, Jim as Hubert also went to the barbers.
Yes, where I saw someone who had eaten so much, it's very snake-like, and needed to fall asleep. So it really is just the more that people are engaging with the Reverend, the more that they are exhibiting snake-like behavior, which is where we saw a naked person sunbathing on the roof. And then we all got nude and joined them, and it was a completely normal scene. No, I'm kidding. No, we more critically, more sinisterly, glance around, lean in. The blacksmith's child has some kind of plan, I think, to burn down the church, and it looks like they're thinking of doing it towards it at the big sermon at the end of the week. So we only have a couple of days if we want to try and get things moving before stuff is going to kick off within this town.
2 days, right? Today's Friday.
Today is Friday, that's right.
Do it on Sunday.
Well, assuming that, she's not planning on to burn the church down on Sunday evening, in which case we have a day and a half.
Saturday evening. Jim, you were told that she was planning on when they arrive at the church, it will be burnt down. She's going to do it tonight. So Saturday night.
Saturday evening. So we've got 36 hours on before events are going to get very difficult very quickly.
Assuming we can't persuade the young lady to hold off on, serial arson for an afternoon.
I have a, the same approach that I would like to take the same approach that I bring to my hikes. Leave everything as you found it. So take only pictures. I don't want to disrupt anything. So I would rather just resolve the snakes before there is a need for anyone to light fire to things.
Are we sure it's snakes?
It's usually snakes.
Well, no. Last I checked, snakes don't eat flies. They don't eat insects, they eat small mammals. And while they do gorge themselves and lie in the sun, there are a lot of other reptiles that do the same thing and are much more likely to be insect eaters. Snakes are not, as far as I'm aware, known for being whatever the extended word for, I don't know entomology, so I don't know what insect eating would be, but...
delicious.
I think just insectivores, right?
That would be it, yeah.
Works for me.
Yes, so I'm wondering whether this is in fact snakes or whether it's reptiles generally, and that would then, while it's still a concern and it's still worth looking into, it may not in fact be as deeply connected to our particular form. Also,
unfortunately, I do think it is specifically snakes. He has been referencing local snakes in sermons quite regularly, and he does take he takes his special followers out to the desert on long walks to look at snakes.
Well, yeah,
unfortunately, I do think it is. I think it is.
I think the Reverend,
snakes in particular.
I think the Reverend thinks it's snakes, but I think
the Reverend is being influenced, and this is what it's showing him. I think it's snakes in particular.
We heard much the same thing about the desert. We heard that the Reverend actually started this whole thing out with a 40-day trek through the desert, and he's still going out there. So we thought after the sun goes down tonight, we might take to the skies and have a quick recce.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I also might be able to get in his good graces enough for him to take me and perhaps one of my friends, just in case, as a carer. On one of these walks, and we might be able to get an idea of the region, and then we can go up in the wonderful flying machine to scope a bit more.
I think that's a good idea. I think that going up in the flying machine is our best. That's our we should try and ingratiate ourselves, get some more information, but that's going to be our first real clue and direction. I do want to say quickly though, I think the lieutenant might be onto something. I agree with you that whatever's happening here is non-standard compared to what we've previously seen.
Oh yes, definitely.
So
definitely, this is unusual.
I think that Minnie's right. Snakes are involved, but I think you're also right. Something's up. The connection isn't a 1-for-1. So
no,
we need to find.
I wonder whether the Reverend found something with connections to reptiles generally, and just kind of lent on snakes because of the biblical references to it and that sort of thing. I mean, I don't think there's too many biblical references to lizards generally, but snakes there's quite a few. So I mean, I agree. I'm not suggesting that snakes aren't playing a main part of this. It's just odd that we have people displaying so many varied traits of reptiles generally, and not just snakes.
The one thing we have, if we had come into this cold without all of our, prior bias of snakes are terrible, the one hard thing we have to link this to what we know is the radio broadcast, actually. That fragment of garbled message that we got.
Are we convinced that's actually Narcal?
Yes.
I think Yig was mentioned, unless I'm mistaken.
None of you, if I remember correctly, none of you actually succeeded the Narcal check, but you do believe it to be Narcal.
I think I got one word.
Yeah.
And Caduceus picked it up. So
yes, but Caduceus haven't been particularly good at, well, anything lately. They've managed to kill a bunch of their people. They've managed to let something that we retrieved for them escape. A lot of people get injured. They don't really seem to they don't seem to know what they're doing all that well. At this point, I'm starting to think we know more about this than they do.
But they got the best intentions, at least, right?
Road to hell is paved with good intentions, Sam.
Okay.
So I suppose, yes. We at this stage we just need more information. So let's keep an eye out, but be ready for our conventional understanding of the enemy to suddenly alter, as the lieutenant has pointed out. I think that Minnie, you're going to head to the church, and out of character, I think I was going to go and head to the saloon, but I think that Hubert might decide to come along just so you can rest your throat slightly.
One other thing worth noting, or two things worth noting. The most important is that the blacksmith did say that when the Reverend left to go on his pilgrimage, he returned a different man. Now, whether they mean very different or whether they mean he'd had a change of heart or a change of mind, that was unclear. And I'm hesitant to say he came back a new man means he's a snake wearing human skin, because
change of heart, change of mind, change of skin.
However, I think it's worth keeping that in mind. I don't know that I want to say, oh yes, that means that the serpents are here, because I don't think that's necessarily true. There are other.
I agree.
But
well, yeah. Look, I get the intention not to jump to the easiest conclusion, but we also don't want to dismiss the easiest conclusion, if you know what I mean.
Of course, I have no intention of dismissing it. My point is to not become blinkered to other potentialities and then get ourselves into a situation again where we're assuming that it's one thing. And then when it turns out not to be, we end up being surprised that it is not, instead of going, this was something that we had previously considered.
Roger that. Everyone remember, we don't know what's going on.
I agree that I think he found something that he perhaps wasn't supposed to find. Maybe the Narcal don't even know he found it.
Yeah.
The other thing is the brothers. The Peace brothers were out looking for something or someone, which suggests... I don't know why I have the feeling that they're Indiana Jonesing this place.
But my read was... I just made wild assumptions. Probably completely wrong. My read was they're gangsters from somewhere, and their boss is dying, and heard about the Reverend, and they've been sent down to scope it out to see if they can heal the boss. That is my pitch.
That's fair.
If they can find it themselves.
Right.
If they can find it, that would make sense.
And not have to go through the Reverend.
Well, I mean, regardless, that in my head is still kind of Indiana Jones thing. It's not taking an artifact and sticking it in a museum. It's taking an artifact and taking it to the mob. So whatever that version of that story is. But yes,
same one.
Dave's either really happy that we're on a tangent or going, damn it.
Aries, I didn't know you were into those kind of pulp novels. Thought they were a bit too lowbrow for your taste.
Sometimes it's nice to get a escapism. It's nice to see, the combat and things of that nature described in a way that is fun rather than, horrors of reality.
It would be a great time to look up all of the novels that got released in the canonical year of the campaign, but we could theorize forever. So let's get moving. Me and Minnie will go to the church. Minnie and I, sorry. And so what's the rest of the plan? Are you going to...
I had intended to go to the sermon at the blacksmiths because... what was the nice young lady's name? Enid had mentioned that there was a subset of people who went, and I do somewhat want to ingratiate myself with that side of society. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to tell the delightfully bizarre proprietors of where we're staying, but I suppose if they do ask, I can always make the excuse that I've seen slightly too much bloodshed and war to truly believe in the majesty of God as he stands, so perhaps I'll take that as excuse. Last
option, you and I swap, because my excuse is I'm an idiot and I stumbled into the wrong sermon. I thought I was going to the church and it was awful, and I might be able to pull that off because everyone thinks I'm a fool. Up to you. Happy to go either way. I
don't know. I mean, I see your point. You do have a better chance of fooling people into thinking that you are in fact a fool.
The real threat is probably also at the church. If there's any threat at the blacksmith, it's probably that someone tries to get up in your face. And if someone gets up in your face, you probably kill them. Whereas I can do a little tussle without anything getting too. Yeah, well, true. I suppose. I either way. I was thinking you may want to go with Minnie then.
Please.
If you're not sure, let's do that. I'll go to the saloon. You go to the church.
All right. Very good. Sam, what's your plan?
DM, how long does it take? GM, rather. Ooh, what's a dungeon? Never heard of it.
Jackson
actually.
from Scream.
Keeper.
How to remove.
What's my build time on my flying machine these days? What time is it now? How much time do I need to get it ready to fly as the sun sets?
I reckon you're pretty good. You packed it up to, I think.
I mean, it's packed up for train travel.
I think a couple hours after dinner will have it done. And if you want to try and speed through it, you can make a mechanical repair roll to see if you can smack it together with little quick sticks.
Ooh, well, I want to have it ready as the sun goes down. Right, that was our plan.
Sunset's quite late here, given we're in summer. So you could do it, if you do it around dinner time, you'd probably be fine. The alternative would be you could go and you could get it set up to soon.
Worth noting, we still don't have the blacksmith's permission to put this thing together on his property, and that's going to be one of the better places to have it set up. I don't know.
He doesn't want you basing out of there necessarily, yeah.
Yeah. What was this plan with the blacksmith service?
It's just that
was that today?
What's happening there?
They host one.
The blacksmith service is today. Yes. They hold one.
It's just an alternative.
I'd be inclined to attend that as well, just to stay in his good books.
Okay.
Right.
Makes sense. We dead easy split, and we have a thumper and a thinker on both sides.
What's the current split? Dr. Sam and Mr. Smith going to the blacksmiths. That works. And Lieutenant Carter and Minnie going to attend the Reverend's sermon.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's the go.
A little bit of a shake-up of plans, but I'm sure nothing bad will come of it.
No, God, yeah, heavens no. Okay.
All right, hands in. 1, 2, 3. Sermon.
Everyone scurries off in different directions.
Good.
I know Hubert says people think he's a fool.
He's very thorough.
Well, if I can I need 30 more seconds, Dave. I'm so sorry, because now I need to go and be a fool as a player. Can I make a navigation check? Is there anything interesting, about the coordinates of Borneo and Bolivia and now Bingham?
Yeah. They all start with B.
Write that down.
Iceland doesn't.
Write that down.
We also know about Iceland. That might be worth putting in as a coordinate. To see if that changes anything.
adding
happened in
that?
Iceland?
Am I getting like it corresponds to the ley lines of the or like I don't know? Can I make a navigate check?
Make a navigation check.
Okay, this is probably a real shot in the dark. Okay, where have you bloody navigate? Here we are. Success.
Nice.
Okay. Oklahoma kind of throws it a bit because it's divorced from the others, and Iceland throws it even further. The one thing that you do note though is that what Minnie told you of the cavern she found seemed to be showing a much older Earth in a different formation. Even with that in mind, though, these don't seem to line up. Oklahoma in particular has no associations with the others. It doesn't appear that it was ever part of like the same like area or anything. Even when it was one landmass, it would have been in a very different section of it. So no, you probably don't find a thread that connects these. Sorry, unless you want to invent one.
No, it just lends credence to the lieutenant's idea that this might be unrelated. But
Yes.
we could theorize all day. So let's get to the sermon.
It would.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So let's follow Lieutenant Carter and Minnie first as they get ready and then head towards the Reverend service. Are you both going to go via the hotel to pick up your introductor, I think is the word, and travel with Rosemary to the service, or do you want to go independently?
No, I'll head back.
I go with Rosemary.
I intend. I will also head back to to sort of freshen up and put on a jacket and sort of do the presentation, the very precise, impeccable military presentation for the purposes of going to church.
Fantastic. So you each return to the hotel, and there you'll find Rosemary has changed into a sort of a Sunday dress or something closer to it that she would probably wear to each service. And it's basically out of her work clothes, and is still sort of scurrying about the hotel, attending to sort of final things, ticking boxes before she makes ready to depart. As you all come in, she'll say, be ready to leave as soon as we can, and Minnie, dear, we will take you there, and I will introduce you to the Reverend. We'll meet on the porch, basically, ASAP. In your rooms, you will find clear evidence of them being cleaned, so someone has been in here. Any wayward suitcases or luggage have been stacked. It's not apparent that they've necessarily been opened or studied, but things have been moved about with no attempt to hide that. I think you left like a vase or something leaning up against the window just in case someone came through.
I would have moved that in the morning. That would have been only while I was...
All good, because
Yeah.
I would have said it would have been moved back.
No, I would have moved that myself. There's no reason for people to know that I am cautious. So the chair would have been moved back to where it was meant to be, and the vase would be moved.
I imagine so.
You're so cautious. No one can know how cautious you are.
Well, until I, leave a grenade, the word bang on it.
Bang. Rosemary makes no comment of it, and after the two of you have gotten changed, you can head out the front and meet with her and her husband and walk up towards the church. As you're going, she will ask a number of increasingly pointed questions about what you've been up to today, and in particular, when will your companions be joining us? Will they meet us at the church, or shall I send someone to fetch them so that they can be escorted? It's not hard to find.
Oh gosh, I think Hubert said he was on his way. He just needed to get a few things together. So I'm sure he'll show up in good time.
The good doctor has concerns about his machine, I believe. He likes to do a check over it once it's gone through travel. I assume he will join us when that's done, but that is one of his great concerns, as it is one of the great achievements of his life. I'm sure you understand the importance of such things.
Well, yes, I mean, one's personal achievements are something of import, but we're dealing with grander matters here, and with the town filling up, I mean, they might be standing at the back. look, once we get in, I'll see if I can hold some space at the front so they can join us when they arrive. But really, this won't do for long. They should arrive early. And also, I mean, when you're new in town, it's only polite to head in and make a good introduction. I say this is, well, it's not going to cast a good light, and particularly if you're looking for the Reverend's help and for his... She sort of not just like looks around, but like gives a lot of emphasis on assistance. Then, well, a good turn would be appreciated.
Oh goodness, I'm not sure the men would be comfortable sitting at the front. They're very much gentlemen at heart, and I think standing at the back, making sure that women and children are sitting at the front is more their speed.
Well, that's good, I suppose. That's proper. She does see it, kind of turns it a bit. She goes, yeah, so that does it. That said, their lack of attendance is kind of noted, and you do get the sense that Rosemary will be like looking around during the service and very much being like, where's everyone staying at my hotel? Are they all here? Someone's getting a smack. She does also ask you what you've been up to today. Very much a little sticky bake. Do you tell her, or do you just kind of go, we wandered the town, that's fine?
I tell her about my studies and that I'm studying, the little white lie that I'm still studying. Not that I already have a degree, because I'm just quite young for that, and it kind of creates more questions.
Yep.
But tell her that I'm studying theology, and I particularly local theology, and I went to the library to have a look at local books on church and the evolution of the good word in town.
Okay.
So I tell her.
That's perfect. And if you wish it, she would be sucked up enough into that conversation that Lieutenant Carter, you might not be questioned too closely, especially if you just kind of don't offer much up. She would be. It's very interesting that Minnie is studying religion, and she'd be very happy to talk about that at quite great length as you head up towards the church.
I know it's not the right time period, but if you can just imagine, like, Regency, Jane Austen, two ladies having like a natter about a gossip, and then good old Darcy just walking behind, being like, deadpan.
Yep.
I'm here if someone wants something, but otherwise I'm just going to look austere and well presented and say nothing. That's pretty much Carter's vibe here. Is just walking a couple of paces behind the two gossiping women.
That's fantastic.
Which Minnie does a very good job of pretending to be.
Yes, 100%. All right. So as you walk through town and you head towards the chapel on the small hill, you can see there is a little picketed fence around it, once painted white, now long faded by the sun. And the church itself looks as though it's been through some recent minor repairs. It looks as though some glass has been put back in. It has had a bit more touching up than a lot of the rest of the town as it falls apart. However, you notice that at the very front on the porch, there is a sign which has clearly been recently painted over, at least half of it, and it reads First Church, but it looks as though it previously read First Church something more, like it would have continued on to be, of Christ our Lord in etc., but it has been truncated significantly, and there is no clear reference to Christianity or probably the original intent of the building. Inside, there's a few people moving about, but seated right at the entrance, there is the sheriff. Again, quite a large man with a very red head as it's been burnt by the sun, and under his thinning hair, you can now actually see a not insignificant blister beginning to swell and form from the burning. And as you approach, he's got his hat off, not wearing it, even though he's clearly quite sunburned, and he's fanning himself slightly with it as you approach. He nods to Rosemary, clearly takes the two of you in, and then says, right on through. And you can walk past and join the others. As you go through, you get for a moment a scent of... Can you actually each make... I think spot hidden rolls is going to be... Or survival. Actually, sorry, no, I'm going to change that immediately to if you've got any natural world.
Yeah, base.
I think you catch a slight. Go ahead and roll into base. There's a chance, and you guys have so much luck that you could. Yeah.
Good. I will. I am.
Okay. As you go past
I
him.
like that. I've got so much.
Okay. As you go past him, you pause for a moment because you get a slightly strange scent. It's something natural. It's like a cooking oil or something. It's like linseed oil or something, and you think he might have put it on his head, so he will be burning much worse. And you see a slight sheen to it. Rosemary doesn't really let you linger unless you resist, but it's a strange occurrence. And then you're through and inside the walls. There's a few people milling about. You'll spot the Allens standing slightly awkwardly against the wall, and it looks as though Mortimer is possibly rehearsing something. Lloyd has picked up a few rocks and is playing some very basic game where he drops them down to his boots and tries to kick them back up into his hand. Moderate success. Rosemary will suffer none of this and pushes through all of them, depositing her husband somewhere suitable to watch for the others and assist them if they can't find the place on the inside. And then she's going to take you straight up towards the front doors. As you approach, she will turn to you, Lieutenant Carter, and say, if you'd like to wait out here, I'll escort Minnie inside and we'll meet with the Reverend.
Please, I would be much more comfortable if the lieutenant would be able to join us. Just for context, in case the Reverend says anything that is of import regarding my sleep disorder, my friends need to know everything. And with the lack of sleep I've been having lately, I worry about my memory. And I would very much be more comfortable if the lieutenant would be able to accompany me, just to make sure that I don't miss anything. As they know a lot about what I've been going through, and will be able to step in if I forget anything.
She moves to cup your hands in hers and pats them comfortingly and a little patronizingly, and says, "I'll be there with you during all this, and I can help."
Of course.
And understand that the Reverend is a conduit for God, and this is a personal thing. You'll be okay.
I just mean I might forget things that are important to tell the Reverend about what I've been going through, and the lieutenant in particular has been very good at assisting me and knows everything that is important about what I've been going through. And I'm so forgetful these days. I would feel much better about just my own memory if the lieutenant was able to come with us.
She lets your hand fall, and can you make either, I think it's going to be a charm roll or persuade.
Fast talk. I'm lying through my teeth.
I know, but it's less trying to trick her into something and more just trying to say, please let this through. I think charm suits, I think it's going to be a straight roll. Sorry. Yeah,
Yeah, no.
Unless Lieutenant Carter, you want to chime in and try and assist by...
I was going to say just something along the lines of, please be assured, madam, I have the utmost respect for the house of any house of God and any man, woman, or other who speaks on the Lord's behalf. I am perhaps not particularly fervent in my demeanor, but I am a child of the Lord. I respect his path, and I would be very pleased to at least have an opportunity to see the good Reverend work his miracles, even if I don't necessarily have an opportunity to speak to him directly.
Okay.
I'm very good at being a silent companion. Do not be concerned that I will interrupt him.
Okay. I think, Minnie, go ahead and make a charm roll and definitely take a bonus dice.
Never mind.
Oh my god. Well done.
Crit fishing. Even though, great. That's cool. That's fine.
Well
That's
done.
good.
I think with there's an element of sort of she's clearly quite taken with Minnie. And I think Lieutenant Carter, there's probably a slight presentation of sort of that like guardian spirit, sort of like there is like a watcher or a protector kind of thing that clearly really clicks with her, and she is quite taken with it as well. And so under the assumption that you're going to kind of stand to the side and oversee silently, she will like pat Minnie's hands again and say, of course, of course, dear, anything you need. Follow me through here. And she opens the doors and heads into the church itself.
I have the utmost faith that Minnie is perfectly capable of holding her own in this conversation. I am genuinely here to just observe and get a vibe of this whole thing, and also the more I know, better my tactical stuff.
100%. Worth flagging at this point, are either of you carrying any weapons or anything? Even like a lumpy pocket would probably be at least looked at.
I mean, I always have my gear on me because it's expensive, and it's valuable to me, but it is also valuable in and of itself. There is no place where I would want to leave it when I'm not, like, I wouldn't take it off and leave it somewhere if I wasn't present, i.e. sleeping. So yes, my accoutrement is with me. It would be the holstered gun, which is underneath the jacket, and the bayonet would be, again, holstered at the side under the jacket. So the attire is designed to make both of those things, like the way that it's fitted is not going to be like, oh, you have like weird lumps in a jacket that's not designed for that. But also, I'm not trying to conceal the weaponry. It's just, it's not obvious unless I go, hey, look.
That's concealing at the end of the day. This is bringing weapons into the house of God. It's also, and even the large coat alone would probably be expected to be shucked off. If you want to try and bring it in, I will need a stealth roll from you or a sleight of hand or something similar. Otherwise, other people have things. You'll just be relieved of them. You can offer them up and preempt. The sheriff will take them gladly and return them to you after the service. Otherwise, it will be attempting to hide them. This is you would think of this as you go in. You would know that they would not appreciate you bringing them inside.
If I attempt to stealth them and fail, I have to give them up.
Yes, but you have tried to go inside with them. You can do a bit of a, I forgot, but it will be a mark against, yeah.
Very good. Let's try stealth.
Yeah. Oh no, the one time your famous rolls don't make it.
I've been failing most of my rolls.
You're right.
We have
Limitless
so
pool.
much.
Yeah, it's because you're not spending your luck. All
We
time
have
is
so
like,
much
they got
luck.
heaps of luck.
Lovely.
You fail until you start running out.
Sure. I'll go back to 3 points below where I started before I rolled my luck today. Because I managed to fail, for anyone watching at home. I managed to fail my luck. I was at 80. I got to add 23. I was on max luck. So I'm now down to 77. You may have that so that I can have essentially established that my weapons are well enough concealed in my clothing that they're there.
Yeah, and under most circumstances, that will be, or it'll just be certain. Sometimes if you try and go into places where they would be checking for them, whatever, they might get found, and this is one of those.
Absolutely fine. Yep. So yes, you may have 22 points of luck to make that a thing.
Gladly, they are stashed elsewhere about your person. They will not be immediately obvious, and no one's really going to ask about them. I would be assumed they would have been given up. All right.
I just have my notebook.
That is all good.
Also, quite frankly, I am a mercenary, and like, I would just be like, no, you're not taking my guns. That's my job. It's
Probably
literally
would
my
not be let
occupation.
inside.
None of that.
That's fine.
Yeah, I know.
You wouldn't be let inside.
Yeah, that's my job.
So stepping inside, the sun is cooled by the walls and ceiling, and you are cast in, quite heavy shadow. The windows are thickly glazed, and the sun can't quite break in. It's enough to give the whole thing a sort of a muffled and somber appearance. There are a number of pews, except all of them look like they've been picked up and moved forward several inches, and then a sort of mismatch of seats have been splayed around the rear to fit more people. As you head towards the front, there is a raised stage and
Dais?
and like the pew and all the bits and pieces towards the back. But the thing of note is that before it, in between the foremost pews and the stage, there is like sand scattered all across the ground. It'd be about an inch or so thick, and you can see it's been smoothed over by a rake or a broom or something, and no footprints have gone through it. There is a door towards the back, and just as you're walking up towards it, Rosemary leading you through, it opens and a man steps out. He looks to be about in his 40s. He's a white guy with black hair smoothed down and what looks like a broken nose from some point earlier in his life, which is slightly off kilter. A lot of his features are a little bit smaller. His ears are sort of like circular and a little bit further back. On his head, his nostrils are very thin, and as he walks through, you can see them sort of like stick to their sides as he inhales. He has a sense of somberness, and he wears priest robes, but he still isn't quite what you expect. And when you heard his voice on the radio, it had a lot of confidence and vigor in it, which isn't quite represented in the man standing before you. However, he walks confidently towards you, and as he turns around the sand, stepping carefully to avoid leaving footprints and approaching you, he introduces himself as, of course, the Reverend Cornfield. He says, "Thank you, Rosemary, for everything you've done and for bringing these two here this morning. I understand one of you is suffering from nightmares or sleep terrors. Is that right?"
That's correct, yes. I can't remember the last time I had a full night's sleep. I'm exhausted all of the time. And I've been having these terrible, terrible nightmares.
Well, that's...
I can't remember them fully, and they're just a fragment when I wake up, and I spend all day in a haze.
That's so terrible. We have a moment before the service begins. If you'd sit down here with me and tell me something of your story. Tell me how these first came to you, and what aid I might be able to offer that would ease you of this burden. And he sits down in one of the pews, and with you in the one in front, he sort of turns around and places his hands across them so that he can listen to you. How detailed do you go on there? Are you basically telling him that you've experienced like poor sleep and things?
I say night terrors in general. I don't talk about the contents of them. I just say that I wake and I have this foreboding sense of being, if not watched currently, of having been seen. But I don't go into any specifics about, I don't mention the serpent things. I don't go any specifics. It's all, a dream-like haze when I awake. No specifics.
Was there any, because I know we discussed this beforehand, was the intention to drop some stuff about the like inner night or like vague references to it to see if there was any recognition? Because I guess, sorry, it's been a couple of sessions, so I'm like, we had planned this out.
Was mentioned up to you.
No, I think this was just a ruse to get him to help us. Yeah, I think this was more just to get him to help us. The best lies are made from partial truths. And I think we've seen enough here that, yeah, I don't want to play our hand too much and for him to think that...
I mean, I also think it's reasonable that, like, there's a chance, if necessary, you could always go, I don't remember them, but I have told it to my friends or whatever if we needed to change track.
Yeah, I feel like it's something I can pull out later on.
Just double checking.
Just to see how receptive he is to this to start with, and then if he's if I feel like he needs more of a push, then I'll pretend that in his presence I've remembered more just by being in his presence, and there was and then I might drop a specific about the snake mouth. I think is probably where I'd go with it.
But the original intent is just to kind of get him on side and draw sympathy and attention, basically.
Yeah, and really just find out what he's doing and how.
Okay. Can you make a charm roll for me, please? As Rosemary busies herself arranging some chairs and things and preparing for people who are gathering outside and will be entering soon. Okay. He,
so charming.
oh yes, you are. He listens to you and nods along and offers some sympathies and some kind words, and also like quotes of scripture and things that might be of relevance and comfort. None of it seems particularly snaky or suspicious, and if anything, from your studies, it actually all seems fairly standard so far. But as he draws this to a close, he says, sit in on the service today, as I'm sure you were going to regardless. Take a seat towards the front, and it may be that you'll draw some comfort from this. There are some potential ways that I can help, as I'm sure you may have heard, either through the broadcast or through speaking with the fine people of this town. I have some abilities offered to me by God that may allow me to ease your nights, but they can come at some minor costs, and I'd want you to be certain that you are willing to accept it, that you can open yourself to God and take those gifts wholly. Sit here.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, and I will listen attentively, and I have Rosemary here as well to make sure that I don't miss anything.
Very good. Find your seats, and Rosemary, if you can open the doors. I think we're about ready to begin.
Because I haven't necessarily needed to be involved in this conversation, can I take the time to scrutinize the church, the surroundings, just get a vibe of what might be going on? I assume potentially the sand's purpose may come about during the sermon, but I also have my own theory about what it might be.
What would you like to do? You could make a spot hidden roll to see if you can actually find, hidden bits and pieces. You could make an occult roll on the church to see if maybe how this differs from your standard arrangement. You can make a psychology roll on the Reverend himself.
I think my best bet is spot hidden. My psychology and occult are both based, so I'll take a spot hidden just to get a lay of the actual building itself and anything we might have missed from our first pass.
Okay, go for it.
Incroyable.
All right. So you have a look around the area. It's very much as I've described it so far. You'll notice that there appear to be no locks on any of the doors, including the one towards the rear, which he came out of. When he probably now leaves at this point to go and just make his final preparations, you'll see in the back there is a very simple bed and cotton and wardrobe where he would store his things. It all seems to be very basic, he doesn't keep a lot. Pious is maybe the word. Spartan, that's a good word for it. There is no excess. The only other thing you would notice with that success is that the raised stage appears to have been modified at some point, and there's a number of holes along the front. There'll be about 6, evenly spaced, and behind it only darkness. But just as the doors begin to open and people begin to make their way in, you think you hear underneath it all the of snakes stored beneath the stage. But now it is time to take your seats.
I will be taking a seat behind Minnie and Rosemary at a minimum.
Rosemary.
And there... we've established Ares does not like snakes, at least not anymore. So there is probably a very gentle, white knuckling on the on the hilt of a bayonet.
Hell yeah!
Just as a comfort thing.
Hell yeah! All right.
And I do not take my eyes off the holes.
So Rosemary and Minnie are seated probably one pew from the front, so just one back behind you, on the very front of it, and people begin to filter in and seat themselves. Lieutenant Carter is seated just behind, and Mortimer and Lloyd Allen will join you on that row. Lieutenant Carter. People begin to fill in, and you see the whole place will fill. Basically, it's everyone that you would have met so far is present, with a few exceptions. None of the blacksmith's family appears to be present, and you also won't see Enid nor the other girl that works at the department store. They both have not made an appearance. But basically from here on out, you have gotten a sense of everyone that's here. So in future, if you meet anyone, you can just ask, would they have been at that service, or do I notice that they were absent? Gregory Shaw is not in attendance either. He's the young man who helped you from the train station. He doesn't appear to be
It doesn't
here.
surprise me in the least, given what I think I know about the young man.
That's right.
Yes.
So people begin to filter in, and as the doors are shut from the back, the sheriff sort of like draws them to a close and then walks down the side to find his own seat a little bit quite close to the front and a little bit separate. The Reverend steps to the stage and will begin to deliver his service. But first, we'll check in on our other investigators as they make their way across town. Are you also, Jackson and James, Douglas Sam and Hubert Smith, are you also going to deliver the flying machine at this point?
Oh yeah, we hadn't actually taken it over. Yeah, we got to get that done.
We'll start with that.
Okay.
And maybe we'll just happen to catch the service when we're there. Who's to say?
Yeah. What are the chances?
I think it's also good for us, spend a little one-on-one time. Doctor, I feel like we haven't had the chance to talk face to face for a little bit. It's good. It's nice.
What are you guys talking about?
A bit of a chinwag.
I fall into a long silence as we walk after staying that. Then I say, Sam, do you think it's weird I still live with my mother?
No. Older folks in our community need a helping hand every now and then. So I think she probably really appreciates you having her around.
No, you're right. I think she does.
Yeah. I'm really glad you're there. I think she'd be having a hard time without you. Nothing to worry about.
Worry that with everything I hear about what's happening back in New York, people breaking into houses and sneaking around, I'm a reckless young individual, but she's an old woman. What happens if someone breaks into my home and finds her?
Well, I mean, you probably live in a bit of a nice part of town, don't you?
Yeah, but these people are resourceful. You know what? You're right, though. It's important I stay. I'm going to buy her a gun, and we'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Otherwise, you've already got yourself a talent for finding goons to hire. Do you reckon that might be a better idea?
That's true. Where have my goons got to, by the way? Are they?
As you look around, they are several steps behind you, winding through the crowd and following semi-diligently. Yeah, they are kind of always just a little ways over that way, but yeah, within sight.
Good idea, Doctor. I'm sure she wouldn't mind having some handsome young men around. Okay, that'll be reassuring.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Okay.
No further comment.
You get back to the train station, and one of the looks still parked there with the vehicle ready to go. You can give them directions to the blacksmith, and it's probably not large enough to accommodate both Hubert, Sam, and the machine, so it will be driven over, and you can basically keep a walking pace to find your way up towards it. You guys are kind of going a little bit against the flow of everyone making their way across to the church as this is happening. So for convenience's sake, the driver will probably go around side streets anyway, so you kind of avoid a bit of the public eye as you get up towards the blacksmiths. Only returning a short sort of hour or so later, there are a few more people here. The doors are closed, but you see a couple of young women walking up towards it. These are the two people that work in the department store. They've changed into, again, out of work clothes. And as they knock on the door, it's opened kind of suspiciously. There's a bit of like an open, not fully, just check who they are and then open up and they step inside. It pulls up and you can begin to unload everything. Now, you would have told the blacksmith that you were coming to drop it off, so he comes out to assist you. And once it's loaded down, the driver, who is one of the people working at the lumberyard, will be pretty eager to get back to church. And it enters the conversation as you're all standing around, as the driver goes, "All right, I'm gonna drive straight to the church now, and then I'll drop this off after. Can I offer the two of you a lift?"
Oh no, it's so close. We're very happy to walk.
I'm going right there now. You can hop in. I've got space. It's
No, but can I make a fast talk check to try and I see that he would say, no, it's right next door. What are you talking about? You'll have already dropped us there.
100%. Go ahead, make a fast talk roll.
Okay. And as a flavor point, Hubert is very confident in his own abilities, but as soon as he's actually sort of called on to lie, he starts kind of flustering a little bit and kind of scratching at his head and sweating. I have 0.5 in fast talk.
Huh?
Oh, hey, that's pretty good.
Oh,
right.
wait,
Yeah.
I'm confused. You trying to fast talk the layout of his own town?
I know I'm trying to seed. I'm trying to have Hubert seed. Like, no, it's fine. We'll just go straight there. It's totally fine. I can't wait to see it. I'm really looking forward to it. But so that later on, when I say I got lost or something, it'll be like, oh, you did seem like you were implying that you were going to go to the blacksmith. I should have realized you were confused.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this bloke,
Plausible deniability.
this bloke also has kind of been sitting around in the truck for long enough and doesn't really want to hang out more than necessary. So once yielded of responsibility, he will drive off. And the two of you are standing with the blacksmith, having unloaded most of the king. He'll, have you get under the other side, and he'll have like some, little jimmy thing that he can get up, and you'll load it across into the warehouse where it can be stored. And then after patting his hands clean, he's gonna say, well, I need to wash up and get inside. That you have access. I'll see you later.
Well, yes. See you soon.
All right, goodbye.
All
He
right.
heads towards his house.
Perfect. Let's put down what we need. Set it up as much as we can without setting it up, so to speak. Like, we get the big straps off the box or whatever, and then we'll when people start gathering for the service, I guess we'll gather as well.
Just happen to be listening in.
It appears to be inside his house that it's happening.
Oh yeah, no, I'm when people start going into his house, I intend fully to.
They have.
Oh, okay,
You saw a couple people going inside. It looks as though it is presently.
My mistake.
kicking
I
up.
thought there was going to be similar to the church. I guess it's the rebel
This
ones.
is
They're
kind
not
of-
expecting a huge crowd.
It's also just
Yeah.
basically. It seems to be like basically like an expanded family service.
Right.
There's no
I will-
sign out the front. There's no queue waiting. You don't really. You're looking at once you finish setting it up, you'll see maybe one more person slowly making their way out the street. So you could try and line it up with them if you wanted to.
Yeah. I'll pilot.
Good plan.
Yeah. I'm going to go in with them.
Oh yeah. Happy to go in with a pair of eyes in the sky on the flying machine as usual.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. You're gonna post Lancet inside the. Yep. Perfect. It did throw me for a second. I thought you were gonna fly on above the blacksmith section. I'm with you. So as this solitary figure winds up the road and towards the house, you guys come out and do a bit of like pretending to talk a bit so that it lines up, and he's getting closer, and then as he gets up
maybe we should
towards
head
the
in
door.
for a glass of water. Hey.
Absolutely would be nice, and then walk up.
He gets there just so it's as he's like knocking on the door. He's already delivered the "Hey, I'm here" that you guys kind of slide in behind. It opens, and it's the girl who you saw Hubert sneaking out. This is the blacksmith's daughter, Susie. And as she opens it, she'll say, "Afternoon, Martin. Come through." And she sees the two of you, and she says, "Oh, are you here for the service?"
I wait until Martin's a little out of earshot. Then, yes, if you could just let us in.
Sure.
This is the same daughter that Hubert talked to?
Yes. Yeah. Sure. Okay. Come through. She opens it up, and you can step inside. She closes it behind you, and after removing your shoes, you'll be escorted through towards a large, comfortable sitting area where all of the couches and things have been pushed towards the walls. Some chairs have been set up, and Bill is seated in front of a unlit fireplace with what looks like an old family Bible in hand, and is just preparing to lead the attendees in a fairly simple service. As you come in, he sees you and sort of pauses, well, have a seat if you like, and I will begin.
Thank you.
You sit down, he opens it, and will take you through the basic religious service of a daily practicing Christian.
We're gonna compare and contrast to the competing the services,
because they do have similar
time
beats
slots
for the beginning at least. So there'll be sort of an opening prayer, and then this one it's very much got a community feel to it. Everyone kind of has opportunities to read passages that they feel are pertinent, to raise concerns, and you will begin to get a sense that there is some lingering resentment underneath the surface here. You will also, looking around, spot a few figures. Actually, how are the two of you reacting throughout this service? Are you honing in on anyone in particular? Are you trying to get a read for the entire room? Are you listening out for any serpentine insurrection? What's your intent?
It'd be good to know, like, get a psychology read in the room. Why are people here? Is it because they just want a normal service like they used to have, or are they or how many people see this as anti-reverend gathering?
100%.
Yeah, quite critically, I wanted to know whether this service was the anti-reverend fan club meeting, right? If this was just people coming in and spitting about how we have to do something, or whether it is nominally still a service.
Presumably it's a mix of both, but let's see which way the pendulum falls.
Yes.
That's right.
I'm not great at reading people. I would like to sit and respond as an active listener to the service. So, when someone shares their passage, yeah, great. And whenever someone says something concerning, just if I can make a charm roll or something like that. I want to endear myself.
I love a charm roll. Why don't you go ahead and give me that? And Dr. Sam, do you want to make a psychology roll? Is it the
I would love
angle?
to, if I could.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank us both. All right, success for Dr. Sam and for Mr. Smith.
I'm going to luck that.
Okay, all right. We want to be endearing. We want to be nice. We want to make friends. Okay. Hubert, you nod along throughout all of it and do endear yourself too. You sort of start by the end, you're leaning over and when someone else is sharing, you've gotten the read of how they interact with this person next to you. So you'll lean over and nod yeah, we all know that sucks for them. That's real. We're very sympathetic about it. When someone else is kind of droning on a little bit, you'll nod to someone else and be like, this is a bit long, right? You're like, come on, let's wrap it up. But I'm enjoying your story, friend. Yeah, you get the vibe. When someone heads up to put the tea on, you go up and help to carry the biscuits back in so everyone can stay seated. You kind of just fold yourself into this social circle very quickly. And you do get the sense that this is a social circle, but one that's kind of been put together by circumstances. People looking for what they would have once found a sense of community in faith, and that faith has been turned into something else. They've lost that community and they're trying to rebuild it, but this is very scattered. It's missing those people that were previously the glue in it, and it really feels like a friend group that was broken apart and hasn't really come back together yet. So there's a lot of awkward silences and things, which Hubert, you're actually able to kind of plug a bit and ease the passage and the transitions between stages quite nicely. Dr. Sam, looking around the room, you do get the impression that this was first founded as just a place to practice religion, and probably what they would have done prior to the Reverend's return. It follows a lot of clear structures and they've started after he came back, but they're just going back to the way that they would have used to have done it. So it follows structures that have probably been in place for ages, and they're just going through them because that's how they used to do it, and maybe it doesn't make as much sense. I don't really know the standards for it, but I would expect there'd be a few pieces where this is something that is typically done with a large group, and now that it's so small, it doesn't quite fit. Maybe a choir equivalent or something, or they don't have an organ player now, so one of them has a little bit of a strum on an instrument, and it's a little awkward as they all just sit there, but it's trying to fill all those same gaps, not adapting it to the new form. However,
gotcha. They're just doing what they remember.
And that's most of the people. There are, however, a few people that are clearly much more anti the Reverend, and that will be vocal at points and really kind of try and rile people up, but they'll be quiet and back down. Among them is Bill, the blacksmith who hosts this and leads it. He's not trying to start fights, but he's clearly disgusted by the practices of the Reverend, and will also mention at several points the foul, demonic magic that man cast upon my wife. And she cannot join us here. She cannot walk in town. She has been cursed. And there's a smattering of like, here from the people around. And at some point, as God is my witness, he will pay for that. And there will be a retribution in this life or the other. And there's another here. The other person
now that's some hot goss.
And it's also very blatant. The other person who has similar, who they kind of look to at this point, is Gregory. And he's the young man who you've seen helping. You pick up on this with a successful psychology roll. There's something slightly awkward between him and Susie, the blacksmith's daughter. They're not seated together. Susie's sitting across from, next to her father, and Gregory's on the other side, a little bit outside the circle, looking in. And as this all happens, they all look across to as Bill shares his story, they all look across to Gregory, as if expecting something similar. And Gregory says, my wife and I went to the Reverend with we wanted help. She was unwell. The childbirth was going poorly, and what my wife gave birth to is not my son. That is a monster, and I can't even look at her the same. I can't even. And it looks like he's going to say something more. You get the impression, like, that she disgusts him when he kind of gets not bowled over, but the vibe of the room is enough to, like, that's too far. Don't overshare. He's clearly a little bit of an outsider here. Susie is not this man's wife. He is young. He's like 18, 19. Clearly he is married to someone else in town. Clearly also he keeps looking across at Susie, and there is an affair or something akin to that occurring. Yeah.
When the plot thickens a bit more.
Mm-hmm. That's right. By the time the service begins to resolve and each of the passages have been read and people begin to step up and leave, most of the people that just came to sense of community and to find religion begin to filter out or head into the kitchen or something for some little afternoon nibbles. The two of you find yourself kind of isolated. You can talk amongst yourselves. You can seek someone out to ask them more direct questions.
Did I get a read on the balance of how many people were
if the number of people
anti-reverend?
The number of people here are in the minority. They're all on some level anti-current state of the church, but it's mostly just people that go, this is weird, and boy, can't wait until it goes back to normal. This is a temporary thing. There's like, it's the number of people that are actually outright hated and disgusted are in the minority.
How many people were in the room?
There would have been about 18, 20 or so, probably more than I led to believe. It's reasonably full, especially for a small house or large house, but rather than a church. Yeah, they're kind of jammed up against the walls and things.
If we get a moment alone, I'd like to lean across to Dr. Sam, and I'd say, Doctor, I want to come clean with the blacksmith. I want to talk to him. I think he could be helpful here. I think these people are genuine. I think we've connected with them a little. I think we should just say what's happening.
I think you're right. I think if we need allies in any strange place, and these might be the best folks we've got.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'll try and make an approach if you want to come.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You both? You head over towards the blacksmith as he's talking to his daughter. They're standing in that same place against the fireplace where they were. Everyone's separated a little bit. And you can, as you approach, they're clearly engaged in a fairly heated discussion as she's like leveling a finger at him and she's repeating, "He's a devil, Dad. You've seen that. He's a monster walking in skin, and this isn't enough. There needs to be action. He's not just going to leave the town. One by one, he's going to turn everyone against God, against ourselves, against our brothers and sisters. Something needs to happen. And he's going, something might happen, but you are a child. Let me deal with this. Let me get assistance. You go attend to your studies, attend to your work. Let the adults handle this. As the two of you step up towards them, and she, clearly irritated, storms away towards the kitchen, where Gregory Shaw will quickly step out and walk after her to go and talk.
I kind of watch them go, and then I'll lean towards the bikes and say, "Excuse me, wonderfully delivered sermon. Can we privately for a second, just aside quickly?"
Yeah, he walks over towards the corner. It's as much separation as you can get inside here, and the hubbub of conversation will drown most out. He says, "I'm sorry you had to hear that. Things have been tough. My wife has a lot less time for her daughter now."
No, I understand. I look up and kind of take a breath. Then, listen. What I'm going to tell you now, I would very much request your discretion about. I did overhear some of your conversation with your daughter. There are other places in the world where people like the Reverend emerge, and the doctor and I have been to some of these places before, and what you said in your sermon about dark magic and about bad things, some of that can be very, very true. And you're absolutely right that it's not the place for children to deal with, and it's also not the place for good, God-fearing folk to deal with. It's the place where strange out-of-towners with resources and means deal with. We came because we think the Reverend is actively dangerous, and we want to tell you we're here to help. We're trying to figure out exactly what the scope of things are. And we want to ask a couple of questions of you and ask for your assistance so we can do it. I'm coming clean to you because it seems like you're a good and honest and capable person. It seems like you really want the best for the town and your daughter. And we also want to make sure that we're not sneaking around and putting anyone in harm's way.
And hey, look, if it makes a difference, it's true. I am a doctor, and we're all about helping people first and not causing any harm, no matter what we're trying to do. So if there's anything that we can do for you, apart from this mess, I'd be happy to help. I hope you don't mind. We feel like we invited ourselves in here and intruded on your privacy. So I hope you don't mind me saying, if you'd like to take an outside opinion on what might be afflicting your wife and child, I'll be happy to help there too.
As mentioned, his wife, you see his demeanor. He's a fairly gruff-looking guy, not very emotive at the best of times. As you mentioned, his wife, his brow sort of furrows a little bit more, and you can see him kind of stonewalling a bit. There's definitely a level of like, that's a private matter and it'll be dealt with privately.
That's what I was going for. That's what I said. I have intruded on your privacy, sir. But here's the offer.
Yeah, exactly. It's a way to sort of like soak it in. Can I get from one of you? I think we're in the realm of persuade. I can see because I think we're kind of beyond. You've shown yourself to be friendly people. That's been accepted. That's why you kind of gotten this far. I think we're in the realm of like, hey, we have resources. Let's work together and let us.
And
it's true.
We're both pretty good persuaders and are both attempting this. Can we have a bonus die
absolutely,
for
absolutely. Whichever one wishes.
One of us should roll, right?
I'm 65 for persuade.
Oh, please go ahead.
Okay.
And go ahead and take a bonus dice.
Thank you.
Nice.
Persuade for bonus die.
Not that you'll need it. Hey.
And that'll bring it down to 45. I might
48.
Sorry, 48. Yeah, I might just luck this to a hard because I genuinely want to. Oh, sorry.
No. Go ahead.
I genuinely want to just at one point go into the town and help people with in a way that they want, and just be like, hey, actually we're kind of goodies here.
What do you need? What do you need from us? We're here to help. What can we offer? Yeah, you're an aid organization. You're here to deliver that, whether that's in the form of violence or medicine. Often both. Well, I tell you what, with the hard, that's going to be, because previously he wouldn't be super eager for you to take a look at his wife. With that hard, he will say, if you truly have if you've experienced something like this before, and if you are maybe able to help, then you should see what's been done. You should see what he's done to some of the people that live here. And you'll say, come with me, and he'll walk you up the stairs. And as you follow after him and leave the crowd below and head towards a room at the back, you will see that a new lock has been installed on the outside, a bolt which can be closed across the door and then padlocked shut. He reaches inside his shirt and withdraws a key, slides it and unclicks it, and as he opens it up and slides the door open, you can step inside and see what has happened to Pearl Schoenbaum, Bill the blacksmith's wife. But first, we'll nip back across to the church service where things are in full swing. So there's a lot of attendance here at the first church, and the pews are completely filled. As the Reverend steps out, he will have everyone rise and first lead the community in a rousing song, which everyone contributes to, reading off the... most of them reciting from memory, and others from small sheets of paper that they find squirreled away in the pews
Lord of the
before
Dance.
them. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Bangers only. There are, from what you can hear, no strange changes to snakes or implications of Yig. It's just a community leading thing, and everyone gets into it, and it's a real bop. Once everyone is seated back down, and they light some candles and do some bits and bots, the Reverend steps forward to the pew and will begin to deliver a sermon. He pulls out a heavy Bible, the black cover and well-worn leather, clearly probably inherited through years of family use. And you can also spot Minnie, because it looks a little bit like some of your journals. There's a lot of like Post-it notes and it's clear that he's been studying it deeply and making, like, you can see like jots and bits and bits. Just from your angle, you can kind of make out that this is clearly a fairly annotated and adjusted piece. As he stands and begins to preach, he's clearly picking up on something that he was talking about previously. And he talks about when Adam and Eve were in the garden of perfection and of heaven, they were in a place that they believed was everything, that this was where they were bound to, where they were destined to be forevermore. But they were constricted by this perfection. They didn't understand that there was so much more to the world. And what many would preach to you, that when the serpent came forward and lied to them, tricked them from paradise so they could stumble into the world beyond, that is not how I see it. The serpent offered them knowledge, pure truth, the insight to see that the life they were living was a lie. It was no life at all. And the crowd's loving it. They're getting into it and they're agreeing with it. You can see nods and assent. And he says, the serpent was just an aspect of God. It was his truer form. It was the one that gives people the ability to help themselves. And everyone's really getting into it at this point. And he stands up and he says, let the serpents cast you your freedom. Let the serpents bear away your burdens and give you the truth that you can know yourselves. And at this point, you can see slithering out of the holes underneath the stage come 6, 7, 8 large black coiled snakes that writhe in the sand of the pit beneath. A couple of people that haven't been to these services before like pull their feet up on the pews and move away a little bit, but most people accept this at one point. And the Reverend steps down to walk amongst the serpents which writhe around them, and as he reaches down, one of the snakes winds around his forearm and he holds it aloft. And you, Minnie, mentioned that you got like a book of snakes at one point and you were studying them. You can see this is
local snakes.
Some variety of super poisonous, kill you quick snake.
This is like some rattlesnake bullshit, like some fucking cottonmouth.
Yes, exactly.
Nonsense.
And as he holds it up, the rattle goes like, and the
What did you
snake
call me?
bears the snake bears its fangs, and you can see venom dripping down from it, and he holds it aloft and he says, "Who is willing to show their devotion to the serpent and to God? Walk forth and see yourself unharmed. Behold, I give unto you power to tread on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you." And the snake plunges its fangs into his forearm. You can see it tense as it wraps around it, and he continues to hold it above. It shakes a little bit, and then he sort of like tenses, and you can see the blood like coagulating, like drying on his forearm. And when the snake releases it, this should have sent this man into an instant shock and, paralysis, dead, all the stages that follow, but he seems to be all right. He says, "Show yourself to the serpent, prove your devotion, and be willing to receive his gift." And at this point, there is an opportunity for anyone in the church to step forward and prove themselves to the serpent.
That is genuinely terrifying.
That
you guys
sucks.
should run, but also on a player level, if neither of you stand forward, I'm going to be real pissed.
Oh yeah, no. Minnie's like, oh, I gotta know, but I want to know. I want to know how the lieutenant is reacting to this, given what happened in our previous stint, our first stint.
Do you want to make it so this is not so severe, and you do not have a full-fledged phobia? Would you like to make a sanity roll? No necessary penalty, just to see how you're handling it, or otherwise I can keep it in your court.
Because I'm not right next to the serpent.
No.
I'm a few back.
Yeah,
I
back.
absolutely have lifted my feet off the ground.
No.
Like, they are just like, yeah, I am not particularly keen on being near. Although, do they seem to be moving outside of the sand?
They are beginning to, they get to the edge of it, and then a couple of them onto it and begin to underneath pews. Yeah, they're beginning to like, they're vibing out the territory 100%.
Oh, me.
I mean, I think sanity roll to determine how well they're coping seems like a good vibe, because I don't know. Don't know.
Especially while there's no penalty. I really hope you fumble or something now. It would be a great time to.
No. Okay. So I think if I succeed, then there will. It is like. Okay. If anyone has ever noticed a largish spider while you're showering,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we all have.
you're like, that thing, eyeballs, all times.
You better be there when I come back. When I look back.
If it moves, if I can't see it anymore, that's when I start getting nervous. But while I can see it, I'll be like, look, this isn't fun, but I will cope. And
this is not worth interrupting the shower for.
Well, yeah. Also,
As
like,
long as I can see it.
yeah, and for any folks who may not know what kind of spiders we get in Australia, I'm talking anything from daddy long legs to huntsmans. Like, they're all relatively friendly. You see one of those, you're just like, I'm gonna deal with this.
Thrilled about it.
When I'm clean.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna, it's gonna be here.
So I imagine Lieutenant Carter's probably like tracking the snakes as they begin to get off the sand. You're like, oh fuck, they're coming this way, and some begin to wind along. Most are staying in the area, but there is definitely a couple that sort of head out and around.
I think with that, then, like, because I don't want to draw attention to how much discomfort I'm in and potentially, like, what have you, I will essentially still, like, have my feet on the ground, although if one comes close, I will absolutely lift it out of the way. But it is like, I am not paying attention. What this, I think, means is I'm not really paying attention to what Minnie's doing. I'm not really paying attention to the Reverend himself, because any snakes near him are not near me. So essentially, I think it's just head on, like, eyes on a swivel, just like keeping track of where they all are. And there is like a hair's trigger on I pull a knife out and I stab one of these
Okay,
things. Like
yeah.
if it comes near me and it looks like it's gonna bite me, I'ma take its head off.
Noted.
But I am holding it together in that this is not all of this is internal currently. It's not external yet.
As this is happening, again, you mentioned you're very internal. You will notice that there's a couple other people that aren't super stoked about the snakes beginning to head out into the main area. So there is very much like a feet being raised up, except for maybe those most dedicated. Speaking of those most dedicated, when the offer is extended, and it is still, you can, the two of you can step up and walk forward if you wish, the sheriff is going to stand up.
Because what I was going to say, if none of the existing townsfolk, because I'm new to town, I don't want to overstep. But if no one else from town was going to step up, Minnie would have been like, it would have taken her cues from Rosemary. But if the sheriff is going for it,
yeah, the sheriff.
That's great for me.
The sheriff steps up from the side, and you can see him. He shakes a little bit. Pretty sure he's got sunstroke. And as he pulls, he wouldn't be wearing his hat. He like brushes his hair away, and you can see that boil sort of like it's blistered and bubbled a shining sheen at the top of his head. He walks forward and he goes, "Reverend Father, I am suffering. The sun has burnt at me, and I can feel it still. It pains me greatly. I cannot seek. Give me your gift. Relieve me of this pain and grant me into your care. Please, God. Please, Reverend, let me accompany you into the desert that I might know his worship in myself." And he holds himself forward, and the Reverend steps up with the snake around him, and he holds it towards the sheriff, and he'll say, "Prove yourself to the Serpent. Let him know you as God knows you. Show that you have no fear, and show that you have been granted his boon, and I might take you into the desert to feel his full power." And as he holds it out, the sheriff offers his two hands up before him, and the serpent almost binds itself around them. And you can see him like sweat dribbling down into his eyebrows and pooling on his cheeks. His bottom lip is blubbering a little bit as he mutters wordlessly around him. You can see this is a man who is in the throes of ecstasy and terror in equal parts. And as the snake binds tighter around him and rears back to display its fangs once more, he closes his eyes tightly and begins to talk faster and faster, repeating prayers, repeating begs of mercy, repeating offers, and he sort of raises up his hands towards the blister that's formed atop his head, and as he digs one of the nails into it, you think to sort of distract himself from the terror of the snake, it sort of bursts as well, and you can begin to see like pustule and horror beginning to drip down with blood across his forehead, and he shakes, and then the Reverend holds out his hand, and the serpent unwinds and returns to him, as do the others that have begun to scatter around the church as they all make their way back towards the sand. And he says, "Sheriff, friend, the serpent knows you. I know you. I know that this suffering, all suffering, comes from yourself. But he can ease that burden. And if you wish it, I will take you into the desert. We will go tomorrow. We will travel with no provisions, with no water, with no food, with no map to guide us. We will walk beneath the baking sun, and you will find your salvation." And people can't help it. They erupt. They stand from their chairs and they applaud. It breaks the solemnity of the church, but it shows the vigor of their worship and their need to be seen by the serpent. And the sheriff, now lightheaded, blood caked across his brow and mixed with sweat and pus, sort of staggers back a little bit, but you can see his eyes are open, and he is so pleased, and he looks at the father with the Reverend with adoration, and he looks down at the serpents, which he saw with horror previously, and he sees in them his own children, his brothers and sisters, and he knows that soon, tomorrow, when the sun sets again, he will be born anew. But he's not the only
Good for
person that
him.
has this opportunity. Minnie? Do you like to see the serpent? Would you like to
Oh,
join
God.
this passage, this voyage?
What is it like? What is the vibe I'm getting from Rosemary?
She is kind of wrapped up in everything, but probably as you look across, she sees you kind of looking to her for direction, and she will say, "Every journey has to begin somewhere with a risk taken. If you can prove yourself to the Reverend, then if your need is true, he will take you and he can cure you. But as you can see, she does, just as you possibly move to step up, she holds your hand tightly and then she does squeeze and she says, not all have passed. There have been some who
What happens to
sought.
them?
None have died. Some have had to be taken back to Oklahoma City quickly. The nature of the serpent is, it sees through all deceit. And I do not think you are a deceitful woman, but know that you must be confident. You must be true to yourself. You must carry your faith and have no doubts. And you see she's a little bit nervous as she lets go of your hand and leaves the decision to you. Carter, from next to you,
the lieutenant. Yeah.
The Allens are you can see the boy looks at his father and will say, like, under his breath, he will say, "Do we need to be tested? Do we need to do that?" And Mortimer holds his hand and will say and responds, "We're not leaving now. We can wait. There's no rush, son." And he squeezes his hand. They are not planning to go up and endure the trial. Not yet. No one else steps forward.
Terrible things are going to happen.
Oh yeah, totally. I feel like Lieutenant Carter knows Minnie well enough that although she appears like calm and enthusiastic for Rosemary, like outwardly, there's like a line to like a tension in her neck and shoulders that basically just says, "Yeah, fuck." As she stands up and moves towards the Reverend.
Okay. Minnie stands up and walks into the center, and you're not standing up. It's like there's still that applause. There's still people standing around as they've taken all this in. And as you walk forward, several people will like not fully clap you on the back. It's more as if they're reaching out to touch a saint or a passing pope or something. Like there's people reaching out and like their hands brush against your shoulders, and one like runs a hand across your hair as you step forward and into the center of the aisle. And when you walk forward, you can feel your boots crunch against the grains of sand. And looking down, you can see the serpents moving, already beginning to coil across your boots. And then when you look up, you can see the Reverend. Again, he's not a very tall man. Sort of slightly small, and his eyes catch yours, and he does not blink. He looks at you with fierce devotion and a keenness that seems to cut you to the core. He sees through you in every way, and as he hands out his hand to you, saying nothing, the serpent coiled around it and beginning to move towards you, for a moment, it's like he's daring you to lie. It's like he's challenging you. He's calling your bluff. He says, "I know you entered here with doubt. I know you're not a true believer. You come from afar, and you would take my children from me. So prove yourself now, liar. And when you writhe on the floor, dying with the snakes, we will know you for what you are." And then that's gone, and it's just the Reverend. And he's holding out his hand to
Fun
you.
fact, my guy. I definitely believe.
I bet he says that to all the girls.
I feel like out of everyone in this particular group, Minnie is the one who has literally seen God, at least this version of it, and probably believes without faith, because faith isn't required.
Don't need faith when I've got facts and the thing that burst out of the statue.
And
So-
Mr. Cat.
Yeah.
Mr.
Mr. Cat.
He holds
Mr.
out his,
Bodega.
he holds out his hand to you.
Fun fact, my guy. I believe.
And he offers the serpent.
Yeah, sure, I'll take it.
I almost got my throat
I
torn
hate
out
all
when
of
I
this.
talked to a weird little guy. You're getting an actual snake. You're gonna get eaten.
It's fine, it's good, it's fine.
It's good. It's great. It's good. What is Minnie acting like? How do you take it onto yourself?
Oh, she's appropriately nervous, as a young woman should be, putting herself forward like this. But resolute. Devoted, obviously.
Do you hold out one hand to let it coil around it? Do you offer both, as the sheriff
Yeah,
did?
she holds out both hands, yeah. Same as the sheriff did.
See? Hold out
That's what
both
the sheriff
hands.
did. That seems to be the done thing.
The serpent uncoils and begins to lay itself upon you. You can feel the coolness of its skin, the roughness of its scales, as it then begins to wind down and coil along your forearm. It does not bind your hands together as it did with the sheriff. Instead, it sort of winds its way along them and then begins to move up to almost drape itself along your neck, then dropping its heaviness. You can feel it around the other side until you're sort of wearing it as a pseudo scarf, and then one side rises up and begins to reach towards your face. Minnie, I need you to make what is a combined sanity and luck roll. So whichever is lower of the two is what you need to roll here.
So just roll whichever one's lower.
Whichever one is lower.
But you have to roll both, but
No,
under the lower of the two.
Yes, that's right.
Oh,
So so that passes it, because that's the lower one, so that passes both functionally. So as it gets down there and it rises up, you can feel your heart quicken. You can see the thing sort of open its mouth and begin to bare its fangs, but you're able to steel yourself, hold still, and you remember way back then when you walked through the Serpent Temple in Bolivia, and as you walked between, the writhing snakes and just pushed your feet forward, as long as you are calm, this is not magic. This is a snake. And you've actually heard of serpent handling. It's a practice that is done in some religious areas. It's supposed to show, kinship with God and the ability to meet with its creatures. So it's holding yourself still, quieting your mind, quieting your heart, and allowing the creature to explore, grow bored, and depart. And that is what happens. It looks up, it rises, but you offer it no threat. And when you lower your hand, the Reverend takes it back. And he says, there will be 2 births tomorrow. There will be 2 people reborn. One, his skin will be made anew, and another, her dreams will be unburdened. Find me on the morrow. Bring no provisions. Bring no guides. And we will depart on your final and grandest journey. And he seems to say it with this, like he's relieved for you. Like he's so grateful that you're going to get to experience this. And he steps back.
Awesome.
The only point you will note, the implication very much seems to be the others will not be coming with you.
Oh, that's fine. They've got an aeroplane.
Yeah, we'll be following in the cloud.
Pop flares or whatever.
Whatever.
Send the Falcon.
We've got the Falcon. We've got Lancet. We've got an aeroplane.
I do want to note that at the point that the snake reared up, whether people were still standing or not, Ares very much stood.
Hell yes.
And very much
hands crossed near the weaponry.
I think, just ram upright, staring directly at what was going on. With again, hands crossed and tensed, just waiting.
Hell yes.
Just.
And it's only when Minnie returns to the pew that you can kind of wrestle. But the snakes will all return and bury themselves once more inside the holes underneath the stage. And there is some minor wrap-up ceremonies, but that's clearly the big part. That's what people came to see. So from here, people will begin to disperse back towards the town. And you can make your way down into the city. The last thing we'll touch in on is Dr. Sam and Hubert before we return everyone to meet. As you're looking in on the Schoenbaum's wife, the latch is undone and slides away. The door is heaved open and it hits something on the ground immediately and pushes it over like a rug or something. draped in the way, and as it opens, there is a smell on the inside. It's a bit like... It's not pleasant. It's not quite rotting meat. It's more like just uncleanliness. You know, like a sealed room that no one's washed in for quite some time. And as you push it open, it's dark inside. And in the bed, at first you think cocooned in blankets and pillows is a humanoid figure. But as Bill steps inside and will ignite a light or spark a gas flame or something into light, you see caked in scabs and like heavy psoriasis or eczema, like to the point that their skin would have tripled in size with you know, like weeping sores, is a woman. Her hair is like bleeding around the pores where it meets and is spread across all of the pillows. And as you come in, Bill goes, "Pearl, there's a doctor here to see you." And as you step forward, her mouth cracks open a little bit. You can see a little dribble of blood pulls from it, and her thick, wet tongue tries to share the words, and you can hear her say, "I need no doctor. Take me to the Reverend. Take me to him again. Let me see the Serpent once more and be born anew." Can I get sanity rolls from both of you, please?
Yeah, that's bad news.
I just want to say real quick.
You're good?
This has to be, Dr. Sam, the perfect time for you to use a modified version of the make your skin fall off drug.
I was thinking just that. It's
I
like,
know, right? Yeah,
it's like I've been
so
preparing for. I've been looking into, you know, snake nonsense
one
and
point,
skin
please,
conditions.
Yeah, genuinely. As you step forward and
So
think of
hopefully
that,
I can turn that to my advantage.
you do see that there are scattered across the ground. What's producing a lot of this smell is skins, previously shed, presumably, where what's the current layer has sort of been picked up. And as she's trying to talk to you, she says, like, "Take me to the Reverend." She reaches up and like picks at a loose scab and then begins to peel it back. And you can see underneath it, pale, unblemished, beautiful flesh that she begins to peel away from the mouth and scrape it. You see a little like goo and crap as she pulls it away. And we'll move to abandon it on the floor with the others. Hubert, you actually this is the same woman you saw sunbathing, baking herself functionally on the roof, except she was quite beautiful, very, very, very smooth skin. Clearly, in that short amount of time, she has returned to this sort of crusty, dried state. And by the amount of skins abandoned on the floor, this happens many, many times per day. And that's going to be your point of sanity loss. But perhaps a more permanent cure could be devised by Dr. Sam. How do the two of you react, especially given Hubert you failed and Dr. Sam you have succeeded?
Yeah, well, I was just looking at much of this stuff just before I came, so I think I was just ready. I didn't know what to expect, but now that I've seen it, you know, I feel like I'm already a leg up on this kind of snake nonsense, so I feel good.
Do you step forward and begin your sort of, you know, duty of care? It's like, all right,
that's right.
Let's get it done. Okay, yeah, awesome. I think he's just seeing you not be shaken is probably enough to, you know, give a lot of confidence with Bill. Hubert, how do you respond?
I don't think I think Hubert was pretty expected something bad, but he did lose a point of sanity, and I would like that to come out by him being a little over enthusiastic. So I think I'm going to let something slip if that works.
Yes,
my idea is that he sort of sees Dr. Sam sort of step in and knows that the duty of care is going to be in place. So he'll step back out and turn to the blacksmith and just say, the doctor is an expert in this kind of thing, and we have seen similar stuff to this before. It's within our realm of expertise. We will do what we can to help. We can take care of this problem, but you need to make sure that your daughter doesn't try to take matters into her own hands. I've seen that face before. She will. And if she tries to burn down the church, then this or something worse could happen to everyone in the town.
As you say that, and as Dr. Sam begins his duty of care and tries to help a bit, this is you have done, you've done well with these people, and you've definitely ingratiated themselves. This is once again this is a man who would prefer to handle things privately, and the suggestion that his daughter might go and burn down a church when, as far as he's aware, you haven't necessarily met her before. I agree. As I'm saying, I think it's enough that he basically shuts this down and says, my daughter would do no such thing.
The result of the standing. No, I expect totally.
I'm totally with you. Yeah. He goes, I will, my daughter would do no such thing. I will, and if you've handled things like this before, then please concern yourselves with them and let me concern myself with my family. Offer support if you can, but, do not look to overextend yourself. That said, you have the impression he probably will go and have a word with his daughter. What's this I hear about you burning down buildings? That better not be true. And that will undoubtedly develop on its own. As we resolve, because I want to return everyone together and head towards nightfall so that you can make preparations for the following day. Dr. Sam, what is your intent? Actually, I'll pass back to everyone here. Dr. Sam, what is your intent with Pearl? That's the skin shedding woman. Are you saying I will?
Yeah, fix her if I can. Oh well, I mean, I'm gonna have to spend a little bit of time just getting a feel for this condition. But yeah, if it's, I've got a handle on snake medicine as it relates to the human skin. I've got the underlying. I'm not saying I look at it and I know what to do, but I've done the background reading, I think, already. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if I can make things better, even not necessarily cure, but make things more comfortable for her, that's what I try to do.
Yeah. Can you please give me a medicine roll, as you'll spend a hour or more here beginning to devise a potential cure or aid.
Yeah.
Nice. You will learn that Pearl is functionally cursed. She had quite a severe skin condition when she went to see the Reverend, and when she sheds this skin, she is beautiful once more. Her skin is unblemished. It is not painful, which it was for her a long time ago, but rapidly, over the course of some few hours, it returns, calcifies, and grows again. And it, from what you understand, it's possibly speeding up the rate of return and the rate of shedding, becoming a faster cycle. She has not gone on the voyage to the cave. She has had what you've heard of, kind of like the short-term cure, like the Reverend just sat with her and helped. She wants to go, and she will talk to you throughout all this. She is very devout. She wants to go to the Reverend. She wants him to take her to the cave so that she can be given the same gifts that the likes of George Henson have received, whether they were completely made anew or the gentleman whose cataracts were purged, Harry Mathewson. She wants to go on that journey, but her husband is straight up locking her inside so that she cannot go and make things worse, which is what he thinks will happen. He would much prefer someone like a doctor deal with it. With your hard success and genuinely your expertise, I would say that you can probably assist with this. It's not an insecure, but you begin to go, I think actually something like that serum that we've developed, I could make the opposite of that. If I put all the ingredients in the opposite order and then blend them together, that will be enough to stabilize the skin. She'll need to take regular injections, but it's something you can be working on. And that's how science works. Yeah. So you can synthesize it using that as a sort of a pseudo cure.
Is that gonna mean that she will go back to having the bad skin, or is this stabilizing the in-between
This
stage?
is stabilizing the in-between. She can do it at the first stage. It will stop development. That said, you need to synthesize this, and it might be, you're gonna have to figure out how's she gonna get access to serpent people technology out here? How is this gonna work? And also this is one of those ones where there's a marriage. She is straight up cursed. You know, like there is a magical effect on her that you are counteracting with science.
Gotcha.
But this will hopefully work. And you have the tools about you to get probably the first few doses of this worked on. You can do that tonight. Or
At the very
beginning to
least,
work on.
treat the symptoms, if not cure.
Exactly. Yeah. That's right.
I have a question.
Yes.
Because I said I was eyeballing literally every single one of those snakes in the church.
You're her.
Were there any differences between the snakes on the ground and the snake that the Reverend was holding?
Do you want to make a natural world roll? Yes, they were visible differences. They were different breeds of snake. There are a bunch of different hodgepodge.
Oh, they were all different?
There might be there might have been a duplicate or two. It seems like basically dude's got a lot of snakes. You also get the sense there might have been more behind the stage that did not come out. Maybe they weren't feeling it. There's definitely a number of different snakes. When he picked up this one, he seems to sort of like put his hand down and it was the one that came up and coiled it. Might be the one that he always uses. Might be his favorite serpent. Is there anything in particular you were going for?
Yeah. There are, I believe in Australia, there's a coral snake or a reef snake, and then a milk python that have almost identical markings. They're red, black, and yellow, but the order of the markings, you can tell the difference between them. One of them is incredibly venomous. The other one is entirely safe. And I am wondering whether the snake that the Reverend picked up and let bite him is in fact an actually truly venomous snake, and he is in some way, shape, or form also magically impacted, or whether it's all, as like Minnie discovered, the whole thing was just snake handling, if it's all just a sleight of hand trick. And or my other theory is, if it is in fact a venomous snake, has he milked it beforehand? He's just gotten rid of all of the venom in it and just gone, yeah, bite me, yo. Essentially, I'm trying to work out whether this is fake.
Yeah.
At least, or theater.
Minnie, you pointedly you did some research on that. You got some books together. You could do a bit of follow-up research tonight, and if that's something you're interested in, I can just straight up tell you because you were so close to it.
Yeah, I definitely will. If this is something that Carter brings up,
I will share with you, absolutely. Because I think this would have to happen when you're like, when I was like, what actually went on, and you're like, oh, it was just snake handling, to be like,
yeah, I was like,
okay, what's going on?
It was just not showing fear, and yeah.
You will get the snake that was before you was very much quite a venomous one. It's not guaranteed death, but it's sure as shit not great. And from its mouth open and dripping venom, you believe it to have been venomous as well at the time. There was definitely an element of snake handling, and that's how you carried yourself through it. You can't shake the feeling that there were some powers at work here, and especially when he, like, just in his sermon, the snakes began to flood out. Unless he's got like smoke back there or someone with a stick jamming them through the holes, he does appear to have some kind of connection to the snakes. But you didn't see anything overt. Nothing you'd call in the fantasy cops on or anything yet. But it did appear to be venomous and quite dangerous, yeah.
And it did bite him.
It did bite him, and he appeared fine.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So as everything resolves and as we wrap the session, we'll look towards the coming night and the next day when Minnie, when the dawn breaks, you will be expected at least to join the sheriff, the reverend, and anyone else. It doesn't matter. As they head out on their expedition, you'll be unburdened by provisions or friends. And you'll strike out to receive the gift of Yig. Is there anything people want to do? We plan on doing things during the night, or is it rest and steel yourself for the day to come? What are people up to?
Yeah, it's resting.
The plane needs building if it isn't already.
We need to put the plane together.
Yep.
Because I am unburdening myself of my friends, only because I expect them to be there.
Yeah.
That's the plan. Treat Bill's wife, whose name I've already forgotten, Elizabeth.
Pearl.
Yeah, I was close.
I mean, there is an Elizabeth in The Curse of the Black Pearl, if we remember.
That must be it. No, there was another Elizabeth. No, there wasn't. And then put a plane together. Enid, that's what I was thinking of.
Steal our cells, then get Yiggy with it.
No. Thank you. None of that.
So there is one thing I will add quickly. We have established that the flying machine does not fit many, and we are numerically challenged. So because we've already established that it's kind of hard for Hubert to get up in that thing, that's going to be a scene in itself. I'm going to need to figure out alternative transport. So while everyone else has useful things, I am going to make use of my very, very high ride skill. I'm going to get a horse and a cowboy hat, and baby. I will follow Lone Ranger style.
Wouldn't be the first time Hubert got on the back of a load-bearing animal and smacked someone with a stick.
I'm going to cavalry charge a snake.
It's going to be awesome. All right, that rolls. So if you're going to spend the night repairing...
Can I get a lance?
Yeah, hell yeah. You get a nice, get your walking stick, just put a pointy bit at the end. The other thing is just flagging the plane just flying through the sky above. They'll be like, that's a plane. Why is that there? We can see you. We can see you. So unless you're planning to you might be planning to do like a leave tracks and then you guys follow behind and we'll pick it up, or maybe stay. Like it's gonna be some sort of stealth roll to do it, or you can try and hide it, or I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
I have So we came to this town prepared to fight snake people, correct?
Yeah.
Is it reasonable then that I would have brought a rifle?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Great, it's got a scope on it. I can see for days in a desert. I'll be able to be up high and use that. I'm not necessarily going to be able to shoot anything from that distance, but I can at least scope.
It's not perfectly flat. There's a lot of there's a number of craggy section and things, and if people
I'm
go
talking
one
about
direction,
the heat and the aridness should hopefully mean that the air is relatively clear depending on what time of day it is. You should be able to see relatively.
It will definitely help you.
Actually, it'll depend on.
There is a level. It's just how far forward you. I'm just letting you know that the following is not necessarily going to be a gimmick. You're gonna
Yeah, I think what we'll plan is that Minnie has a few of those little compact pocket mirrors. And just a pocket full of those, and just every so often she'll just surreptitiously drop one on the ground so it's reflective.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say, if no one minds 7 years bad luck, we can smash a mirror and just use bits of shiny mirror.
I think she's just got little pocket cosmetic mirrors and a couple of those. And
we should also make use of Lancet, because Lancet can follow.
Lancet won't be noticed.
Yes, that's just a bird, and then Lancet can do rallies between followers, so stuff like that. Also, if we are following at night,
the journey is during the
sky. Day. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, my bad.
You can follow after.
Yeah. We were going to do a scope at night to see if we can potentially spot where they go before we actually need to.
You could try and do that. All right. Well, it sounds like there might be some night plans to do. There's also the saloon will be popping off, so you could turn that. So we'll pick up. We will pick up at night still.
Let's figure it out next week.
And the basic thing I do just want to flag is your characters will be aware of the prospect of losing Minnie in that desert is fairly high. Keeping track of her and being able to follow unnoticed is going to be difficult. So anything you can do to stir those odds in your favor, otherwise there is a reasonable chance Minnie is ending up in this cave with zero support. So, just maybe plan for plan B. Someone in chat suggested figure out a way to hide a gun on Minnie. Might not be a bad idea.
I have one random suggestion. Minnie can communicate through dreams, right? We might, I don't know, pack some sleeping pills genuinely, or can we find a way to reliably telepathy?
You have done some.
Minnie's also asleep. Yeah. Well, that we know of, Minnie would need to be asleep, and so would one of us.
Minnie's also only just begun to sort of toy with those abilities, and a lot has been forgotten. But that is a potential thing. You could try. It could be a third result.
I'd rather rely on something a little more concrete, but. I mean, at a minimum, we do have Lancet.
Yep.
And Lancet has very good eyesight. He's a fucking falcon. And shouldn't be too noticeable. And worst case, even if we're a while behind, unless something goes terribly wrong, Lancet's going to know where she is.
And this thing is relatively common. Do tracks persist in a desert? Can we reverse engineer this?
Find how windy it is.
Basically.
Previously. Yeah. Depends how frequently they do it. It's also the big drawback is just it's such a wide expanse. At any point you could go in any direction. And so you don't have a lot to go on, because tracks will often, you find a mark. You're not going to follow, because he's not exactly walking with a troop of people. It's often a single man exploring the desert, finding those tracks through it is damn near impossible after a while.
Yeah,
But you are a reasonable tracker, Hubert. That could be what you look at tonight, is to try and get a sense of the way that they've gone. There's a few things you can think about. I just want you guys aware of the
thing we
risk
could do-
and the potential outcomes.
If we're wanting to track something a little bit more recent, the brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing where they went, if they are going. I mean, again, we're making an assumption they're going in the same direction. They might not be, but at least we would be able to find out what their deal is and whether it coincides with what we're up to or not. Because I'd rather know all of the different players involved, like at least know who they are, if not know what their aims are, because then that makes less surprises. But and we're slightly more likely to find tracks from today than we are from the last time they did a pilgrimage.
Oh yeah. Okay. A lot of good ideas.
Can I ask one last thing?
Yeah.
Dave? As sort of night arrives, if we can, I know that we might be playing more at night, but if we can jump ahead slightly, I will return back to my my hotel room. Can I know if I've been left a note from the Super Sleuth?
Yes, you have been left a note. You will be it was gonna arrive in the morning, but actually if you head back at night, because you might be doing things at night, it's fine to see it now. You will be told that the boy that was looking at you in Oklahoma City sent a telegram. They don't have the exact location, but they believe it is somewhere in, let me get my notes, uno momento. Great time for in Connecticut. A note was sent to somewhere in Connecticut, and it coincided with your departure, and it had your destination written upon it. It appears to be they were updating someone there on your coming and going. So obviously that's also in the States, and it promises to report more from there on out.
Excellent. Good.
So this person at least exists.
Hell yeah. Okay.
All right. Okay. So plenty more to come in the as night falls and your investigations continue. But we'll pick all of that up next session. So thank you all for watching, and thank you guys for playing. We'll see you in a flippy. Schwang.